Coming up, South Korea faces Ghana in its second game at the Qatar 2022 World Cup. The Taeguk Warriors showed a strong performance during their last appearance against Uruguay. Are they prepared for another one tonight? Kim Jong-un's daughter is shown in the media again as a picture emerged of the two attending a missile test on November 18th. Kim also promoted key members of the regime who participated in missile development. Plus, Chinese citizens can't take the zero-COVID policy anymore as protests erupt across the country. Some are even calling for Xi Jinping to step down. Good morning. Welcome to New Day at Arirang. Tonight, the Taeguk Warriors will go against Ghana in their second group stage match of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. This comes after a strong performance against Uruguay last Thursday, and a win for South Korea would give them the team a good chance of reaching the round of 16. Our Kim Jong-sil leads us off this morning.
The South Korean football team is up against Ghana at 10 p.m. Korea Standard Time on Monday. The team led by head coach Paulo Bento has a strong shot of moving to the round of 16 if it beats Ghana. FIFA's rankings have Ghana in 61st place, the weakest in Group H, while South Korea is ranked 28th. The South Korean team held Uruguay to a 0-0 draw on Thursday. The biggest worry ahead of tonight's game is whether Kim Min-jae, South Korea's strongest defender, will be fit to play. After injuring his right calf in the game with Uruguay, Kim hasn't been able to take part in training for 2 days. He came back to training on Sunday and only did light cycling exercises.
Min-jae, we will decide tomorrow. You just recover today, and tomorrow in the morning we will decide if he is going to start the game or not.
The head coach added that Hwang Hee-chan will also not be able to join the game due to a thigh injury, so South Korea could have to fight without two of its key players. Captain Son Heung-min, who played against Uruguay wearing a protective mask, said Ghana's fast speed is something to look out for. After the game with Uruguay on Thursday, Son told reporters that since Ghana's players are very fast and strong, the South Korean team will have to give it their all in the game. Ghana lost its opening match 3-2 against Portugal, but still put in 2 goals. The African side will be as desperate for a win as South Korea on Monday night for the best chance of reaching the round of 16. After the game with Ghana, South Korea will take on Portugal in the final group stage game on Friday. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
A little over a week after he inspected an ICBM launch appearing for the first time with his daughter, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered engineers and officials to continue working to strengthen the regime's nuclear capabilities at a rapid pace. To those who contributed to the launch, Kim gave promotions and said North Korea's goal is to build the world's strongest nuclear deterrent. Our Baeun-ji reports.
This is a photo of Kim Jong-un and his daughter Kim Jae, his second child, posing for a photo with those who were involved in the regime's recent intercontinental ballistic missile launch. The photo was released Sunday morning by the North state-run Korean Central News Agency, which said these were the people who contributed to what it called a successful launch of a Hwasong-17 missile. Kim attended the launch on Friday, November 18th, with his daughter, and pledged to counter what he referred to as U.S. nuclear threats with the regime's own nuclear weapons. State media also reported Sunday that Kim said he expects the scientists, engineers, and military officers to continue to expand and strengthen North Korea's nuclear deterrent at an extraordinarily rapid pace. Kim reportedly called the Hwasong-17 missile the world's strongest strategic weapon and promoted military officers involved in the test launch, telling them that the ultimate goal is to possess the world's strongest strategic force. He also said the purpose of the North's nuclear arsenal is to protect the dignity and sovereignty of its people. North Korea has carried out a record number of missile launches this year, and South Korean and U.S. officials have been saying that the North appears to have completed preparations for its first nuclear test in 5 years. This week, on November 29th, the North will observe the 5th anniversary of what it regards as the completion of its nuclear force. So there's a chance a nuclear test could come in a matter of days. 배은지, Arirang News.
Now, as we just saw in our previous report, Kim Jong-un reportedly called the Hwasong-17 missile the world's strongest strategic weapon and promoted military officers involved in the test launch, telling them that the ultimate goal is to possess the world's strongest strategic force. So let's dig deeper into this amid a record number of missile tests by Pyongyang this year. We have Professor Kim Min-jae from the National Security College with us this morning. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Now, North Korea has been touting its missile capabilities with recent launches. How credible is their claim? We know there has been at least one failed launch in recent weeks. So how does the regime gauge the success of its launches?
Yes, that is a very serious situation. North Korea already has conducted more than 60 missile tests over the years. And South Korea government tried to have maximize its nuclear deterrence capability, including 4D strategy and also extended deterrence capability with the United States. The last is SCM meeting between the ROC and the U.S. Defense Secretary shows strong extended deterrence measure against North Korean nuclear missile capability. But anyway, this is a very serious situation, and North Korea missile threat is getting much stronger now.
So it is getting stronger. Now, you did mention Security Council, so we want to kind of dig deeper into that. Last week, the UN Security Council failed, though, to come to an agreement on a resolution against North Korea's recent missile tests due to a veto from Russia and China. What motivated the two countries to vote against the majority of council members?
Yeah, that is a very difficult situation for the South Korea and the U.S. to sanction against North Korea. Now it's a new Cold War situation, including the Russian-Ukraine war and also U.S.-China strategy competition. Kim Jong-un recognized this golden opportunity to develop their nuclear and missile capability without Russia and China sanctions. So China and Russia will never join any kind of the U.S. lead, the UN sanction because of this kind of new Cold War situation. And Russia itself also was isolated situation by the International Committee on these sanctions. So this situation will be long, and North Korea will use this kind of situation without China and Russia joining the UN sanction.
So I just want to add to that. You said North Korea will use the situation. So the current global situation kind of led North Korea to do all the missile tests and even a possible nuclear test, right?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah. So going on to that, now we want to talk about the nuclear test. The question is getting a bit repetitive, right? We haven't seen one yet, but I know there is many indication of when we can expect a nuclear test right now from both South Korea and the U.S. It seemed like the intelligence were confident from the two countries about such a test coming in early November. So when do you suppose it will happen? Like the report we just saw talked about the completion of nuclear forces. Does that really take into account, or previous assumptions have not been correct yet? So will the world see another nuclear test soon coming from North Korea, seeing the signs that we have so far?
Yeah, over the months, there's so many expectations about for the 7 nuclear weapon tests. As you said earlier, many people are guessing about there are 7 nuclear weapon tests between the China Party Conference and U.S. midterm election, but it was not happen. And North Korea is always finding out the golden timing in maximizing their strategic message by the nuclear weapon tests. So this is time for the North Korea to build the tactical nuclear weapons by miniaturization of a nuclear warhead for more short and mid-range missile for more military purpose rather than bargain chip, including ICBM capability. So we don't know when it will be happen, but everybody knows it's really coming soon, and they are ready, and they will find a golden opportunity to maximize their technology of nuclear capability. Also, their audience is including domestic as well. So domestic North Korean want to see the kind of the 7 nuclear weapon test for maximization of nuclear capability. So Kim Jong-un will choose one of the best timing in maximizing their message to the international audience, also domestic audience as well.
Right, it's not just about the capability, but it's also the message that the test sends to the rest of the world. It's beyond the technology they can gain. Well, thank you so much for your insights this morning, and I hope you have a great day, Professor.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Now, the South Korean government plans to establish a new space agency by next year to speed up the development of the country's space program and related industries, and will be announcing specific plans to achieve that on Monday. In a press briefing on Sunday, the vice spokesperson for the presidential office, Lee Jae-myung, said there will soon be a new team tasked with setting up the space agency, likely by next year. He said the space economy is something that the government and private sector should work on together for future generations. President Yoon, back in August, as he marked 100 days in office, declared that the government will create a space agency like NASA. Now, a major shutdown looms at over 200 construction sites across South Korea due to the deepening disruption to the supply of construction materials caused by a wide-scale strike of the country's cargo truckers. Container traffic at the nation's 12 ports also dropped significantly. Last Thursday, some 25,000 members of the Korea Confederation of Trade Unions began their second rally of this year following a similar protest in June. If talks between the government and union fail to reach compromise, President Yoon Suk-yeol has warned that special powers will be used to force striking truck drivers to return to work. A new report from the South Korean health authorities show a dramatic decline in the severity of COVID-19 from the so-called Delta wave to the more recent wave of BA.5 variant. But at the same time, the number of very old people dying with the virus each week has more than doubled. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency released a study today showing that the rate of severe disease from the BA.5 strain of the virus was less than 1/20th that of Delta. That is, Delta had a severe disease rate of 2.14% compared to BA.5's rate of 0.1%. The Delta wave was roughly in the second half of 2021, and BA.5 was from late July this year until early September. But the number of deaths among patients 80 and older actually increased by more than 2.5 times to almost 109 per week. The report said this calls for special attention to be given to this group in terms of quarantine policy. The number of new infections on Sunday came to just over 47,000, an increase from a week earlier of about 1,000. Now, unprecedented protests have erupted across major cities in China, including Beijing and Shanghai, where hundreds gathered in an outpouring of public anger against the government's COVID-19 lockdown rules. Our Kim Yo-sun has more.
Protests are growing in China, with people calling for freedom, democratic reforms, as well as an end to COVID-19 lockdown rules. Hundreds of people took to the streets in Beijing and Shanghai on Sunday, even into early Monday, in a very rare outpouring of public anger against the state. Some shouted "Down with Xi Jinping," others shouted "End lockdowns" all over the country.
I think we need to identify close or semi-close contacts, people who might be infected. We don't need this huge screening of the whole compound. It's not necessary to be so strict.
Similar protests were also held in Chengdu, Wuhan, and Guangzhou, according to videos shared on social media. The clash between the demonstrators and police escalated as people refused to disperse. The unprecedented wave of civil disobedience first erupted on Friday in Urumqi, the regional capital of the far west Xinjiang region, as a fire in a residential building killed 10 people a day ago. Witnesses say the residents were not able to evacuate in time because the building was under partial lockdown. The city's 4 million residents have been facing some of the longest lockdowns across China, being unable to leave their homes for as long as 100 days. The Chinese government has stuck with Xi's zero-COVID policy, even when many parts of the world have lifted restrictions. It hails its policies as life-saving and essential to prevent an overload on its national health system. Kim Min-jae, Arirang News.
A campaign has been launched by a South Korean civic organization to address distortion regarding the Great Wall of China in a world history textbook. But it's not the only one with errors, as there are multiple claims that the relic extends into Korean territory. Our Song-Yujin has the full story.
A few weeks ago, the Voluntary Agency Network of Korea, or VONK, a civic organization promoting South Korea and its history, found out that something was not right. A student had reported that a well-renowned history textbook contained distorted information in relation to the Korean peninsula. The book, a bestseller on the online shopping platform Amazon, includes a map of the Great Wall of China. The problem is that the eastern end reaches the Korean peninsula, an arbitrary extension of the wall's reach, something that China has been doing for decades. Back when the site was registered as a UNESCO World Heritage in 1987, China itself listed the wall's length as around 6,000 kilometers. But in 2009, the National Administration of Cultural Heritage extended the scope to over 8,000, and in 2012 to a whopping 21,000 kilometers. And now, the wall even crosses the border dividing China and the Korean peninsula. Then, what's the historical truth?
There's no record that shows that the Great Wall extended to the Korean peninsula. The map in this particular textbook describes how much of wall was rebuilt during the Ming Dynasty from the 14th to the 17th century. But historical texts and maps from this period have marked Shanhaiguan of China's Hebei province as the eastern end.
Unfortunately, Beijing's claim has already affected many history books, not only in Chinese, but in English too. Out of the more than 140 books and materials analyzed by VONK, 66 images of the Great Wall were found in 53 of them. Only 15 of them accurately mark the wall's eastern end, while the rest included the territories of ancient Korean kingdoms such as Goguryeo and Balhae and the fortresses. So far, the textbook's publisher hasn't responded to Arirang News' request for comment. VONK has sent a letter of protest asking for an amendment. But public awareness and participation are needed.
Unfortunately, people are much less aware of this issue when compared to China claiming that kimchi and hanbok are theirs. So we've started an online petition, receiving over 10,000 signatures, and created English posts pointing out this historical distortion. Just sharing and tagging these posts on social media could be a big help.
Though it may take time, this collective action could be the start of meaningful change. Song-Yujin, Arirang News.
For a look at the news from around the world, we now turn to our Matthew Ashley, standing by at the Arirang newsroom. Good morning.
Good morning, Do-yeon.
Now let's get the latest updates from Qatar 2022 World Cup, where Morocco shocked the world's #2 ranked team Belgium with a 2-0 victory on Sunday.
Well, that is right, Do-yeon. Despite Belgium dominating most of the match and keeping the ball out of Morocco's reach, the North African nation was able to do more with less. Well, the match-winning goals came in the second half, with the first goal coming from a free kick by Abdelhamid Sabiri in the 73rd minute. Morocco sealed the win in stoppage time with a goal by substitute Zakaria Aboukhlal. The result marks Morocco's first victory at the World Cup since 1998 and puts Morocco level on points with Croatia at the top of Group F. Now, in line with the trend of surprise World Cup results, Costa Rica managed to eke out a 1-0 win over Japan. Japan looked to capitalize on its triumph over Germany last week, but despite multiple attempts on Costa Rica's goal, Japan couldn't find the breakthrough. Instead, it was Costa Rica who got the only goal of the game when Keisha Fuller scored against the run of play in the 81st minute. The result leaves both teams tied for second place in Group E. Meanwhile, in the stands, some Japanese spectators attempted to hang up the Rising Sun flag, a symbol of Japan's past imperialism. The flag was removed by FIFA officials. Now, Canada's second appearance at the World Cup has ended in disappointment, with the country eliminated from the tournament following their 4-1 loss to Croatia. After a positive start with Alphonso Davies heading in Canada's first ever World Cup goal after 2 minutes, Croatia remained composed and were level after 36 minutes, thanks to Andre Kramaric. Croatia kept the momentum going, with Marko Livaja scoring their second goal with a powerful shot right before half-time. Kramaric found the back of the net again in the 70th minute before Lovro Mayer wrapped things up with Croatia's fourth goal in injury time to put Croatia top of the Group F. Meanwhile, Germany, who were facing a World Cup exit, managed to wrestle a point against Spain in a 1-1 draw. During a hard-fought match, Spain drew first blood in the second half with a strike from Alvaro Morata. However, Germany, under pressure, managed to equalize in the 83rd minute through Niklas Füllkrug, who keeps the team's tournament hopes alive going into their final Group E game. And finally, a quick look at some of the upcoming World Cup fixtures. The next 4 matches see teams in Groups G and H play their second group stage games. Kicking things off is the Group G match between Cameroon and Serbia at 7 p.m. Thursday, Korea time. Then all eyes in South Korea will be firmly glued to the screen as the country's Taeguk Warriors face Ghana in the Group H at 10 p.m. World Cup favourites Brazil then take on Switzerland in Group G at 1 a.m., the winner of which will go through to the round of 16 with 1 match to spare. Then a return to Group H for the 4 a.m. kickoff, which sees top of the group for Portugal come up against Uruguay.
Good morning. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with the latest weather updates. Well, what's likely to be the season's last warm day is here to start the new week. And hope you took out your thick winter jacket this weekend. We'll have much colder temperatures this week, but let's go over today's forecast first. Now, rain clouds in the west are dropping showers on the capital and Jeju. And even Chuncheon saw the first snow of the season earlier in the day, so please drive with care. Mountainous regions on Jeju could see more than 120 millimeters of rainfall. West of central regions in Jeju and the south coast could see up to 80 millimeters of rainfall, possibly record-breaking amount of rainfall for November. Rain, in fact, will pick up in the afternoon, dropping 20 to 30 millimeters an hour. And afternoon highs will be 3 to 6 degrees higher than yesterday, hovering above 20 degrees in southern provinces. Busan and Gyeongju, Gwangju will be topping out at 22 degrees, Jeju at 24 degrees this afternoon. But after the rain lets up, some piercing cold air moves into the country, dropping morning temperatures on the last day of November and first day of December to nearly minus 10 degrees Celsius here in the capital. With that in mind, here's a look at the weather conditions around the globe.
And that wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for our Tuesday's edition at the same time. Please stay with Arirang News though for more updates throughout the day. Have a lovely day or evening wherever you are and take care.